Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about Blistered Wheels and tell you all about it. I've been meaning to make this video for a while and I've just been super busy, so I haven't gotten around to it. And what I've been busy with is also what this video is about, so now I have even more to talk about. Basically, you probably heard by now that I bought a company called Blistered Wheels, and normally buying a company is not something I ever thought I would do. It just didn't really cross my mind or make sense or whatever, but an interesting opportunity kind of came up. So basically, Bailey, he's the owner, the creator of Blistered Wheels. He made a post saying that he needs to sell his company, he needs somebody else to run it because it was becoming too much for him. He couldn't keep up with it and stuff like that. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. I guess I'll reach out because Blistered's really awesome. And basically, to go back a few years, I'll tell you guys about Blistered. How I first found out about Blistered was some random person said, hey, can I email you? Not email. Can I mail you some wheels? Imagine you could email wheels to people. I guess well, all right, you can't do that. But if you could email a picture of wheels. But he mailed me real wheels. I got them. And I got to use them. And I was very impressed by the first ones that I got. They were totally just like in paper packaging that you could tell like he printed himself and stuff like that. But the wheels themselves, really, really nice. And you guys know I'm not really like a urethane wheels person, except now I kind of am. But for the longest time, I didn't really like them as much. And that's just because of the way that they feel and the way they affect your performance kind of for fingerboarding. I prefer like the different special like high-tech plastics and stuff that you would see like on a FlatFace wheel or anything similar to that where it's like less grippy. But once I tried Blistered Wheels, I was like, all right, these are really, really good. Like they feel like machine smooth how like a FlatFace wheel feels, but they also feel a lot softer and more grippy. And they don't have that kind of like bumpy, wobbly ride that like a lot of urethane wheels would have. And they don't really not slow down, but they don't like inhibit your performance kind of. They don't make it harder to fingerboard. They work really well. So I was like, all right, this is cool. I still prefer flat face wheels, but I think blistered urethane wheels are really, really cool. And this was a few years back. And since then, he even got better and better at making his wheels. And so anyways, we started selling his wheels on FlatFace, like just helping him with distribution and stuff. And every time I got a batch of wheels, they were so good, super nice, like so many crazy styles I'd never seen before, like not just swirls, but like different kinds of explosive glitter looking patterns and all kinds of crazy stuff and different shapes too. He has a lot of cool shapes. You can see a few of them over here in the background. He even has these cool ones that are tires and they have tire tread on them. I'll show you guys all these wheels later in the video and I'll like zoom in close up and talk about each shape and stuff. But anyways, yeah, every time he sent us a batch, they were insane and I had to keep a few because they were so cool every time. And they would sell out really fast too, so it was like really growing in popularity. At first, like no one ever heard of it, and then once people started trying them, they were like, these are so, so good, especially for like a brand new company that kind of came out of nowhere. So anyways, back to the present, or almost the present, a few months ago, when Bailey announced that he needed to sell his company, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, that's a really good company. Why would he get rid of it? I got to talk to him. So I started talking to him about it, and he told me more about like how he got started, all the trial and error, and how he figured out how to make these wheels in a unique way and make them really good and all that stuff, and how his company was going super well but very time consuming, and he didn't really have time to run it to its full potential or even to keep doing it because he had two other full-time jobs, or full-time part, I don't know, he has two other jobs, so he's working all the time between one job and the other job. And then he's about to have his first kid, his wife's gonna have his first kid, so he's about to start his family up, and basically that means even less time to run the company that he already didn't have time for. And meanwhile, you got people asking, hey, I want more blistered wheels. And him being like, yeah, I can make some eventually, but it takes a long time, stuff like that. So I said, all right, let's talk about what we can do here. Maybe I can help somehow. And so, he wanted to sell the company, but he was also pretty sad about it. I could hear it in his voice, but the more we talked about it, the more he kind of started cheering up and stuff, because we figured out that we could kind of run it together. So I would buy the company, but he would still stay involved too, so he doesn't have to completely leave and like give it all up and stuff like that, because I could tell it's like a real passion project for him, And basically we made a deal where he's still involved, and FlatFace is now, or Blistered is now part of FlatFace essentially. Like, I bought the company from him. He flew out here and brought everything over. We did like 4 days straight of learning and making stuff and asking questions and him teaching me everything. And now Blistered is a really fun part of FlatFace and all the stuff I get to make now. So I'll tell you guys more about these wheels. The really cool thing is that they're hand poured urethane. So like a real skateboard wheel, they are the same material as a skate wheel, and they really have like a skate feeling. Like, a lot of people have said about their wheels recently from us, they're like, wow, my fingerboard finally feels just like my skateboard does. And when I hear that, I'm like, that's so cool, because with fingerboarding, that's pretty much the goal, is like make it skateboarding but small. So yeah, it's really cool. So we hand pour every single set of wheels, and urethane is a special chemical reaction that is a one-time reaction. So once you pour it, it becomes that shape, and it stays that shape. You can't melt it down and reform it like you could with plastic, for example. Not that that really matters to you guys as fingerboarders that much, but just to illustrate the difference in the material, and it really gives it a different feel, a different kind of vibe to it. As I mentioned before, they're soft wheels, they're grippy wheels, but depending on how we make them, we are able to make them perform really good. So even though they have more grip, they're not going to have too much grip, and they wear in over time too. So like, this set is a little bit older. Actually, the ones I was just holding, these are like my oldest ones that I have set up right now. I do have older ones on other setups, but on like a main setup, these are my older ones, and they are like a little bit harder, a little kind of squeakier. They feel a little bit closer to a plastic wheel. The more you use them, they kind of just break in and stuff, which is awesome. So these here are the G4s. So once we combined forces, we had to combine the best of both worlds and say, all right, let's make the FlatFace G4 shape in a urethane wheel. And so I gave Bailey the dimensions and the drawing and everything, and he came up with the mold. And so these are made with all the blistered techniques, but they are the FlatFace G4 shape. And these have been the most popular. They're really, really good. I mean, they look amazing, they feel amazing, they're just super cool. And yeah, so basically I've just been having so much fun making wheels all the time, multiple days a week. I'll go for hours and hours and make wheels. And I actually had to hire some people to help because, like I said, Bailey didn't have enough time to run the company. You can imagine I don't have enough time either because I already have FlatFace. And basically, I've been putting in a lot of time with this anyways because it's super fun and I want to make it the best it can be and all that. We've been making a lot of improvements while keeping everything the same also, like kind of just improving the process of how to make them and stuff like that, but keeping everything at its core the same. The material's the same, the mold's the same, the shape's the same, obviously, all that kind of stuff. So it's the same blistered wheels that you know and love, but just made by us now. And so I had to hire a few people to help. We got an amazing team of people. We work super well together, and we're always super stoked on making them and all the different things we can do. So you got white wheels, of course. This off-white took us like 3 months to develop, just this color, believe it or not. It sounds easy, but it was not. But we got the perfect off-white shade. If you've seen the J wheels, like the J4s, if you find like an old photo of them when they're brand new, they're like exactly this color. And the cool thing about this urethane is that it will age like a real skateboard wheel. So these will actually get darker over time, maybe a year or two or whatever. It'll be faster if you leave them in the sun a lot, or if you're fingerboarding in the sun a lot. If you keep the thing inside in the dark in your pocket, it'll stay the same color for a lot longer. But over time, as you use it and as it ages, they will age like a real skate wheel. And like I mentioned before, they get a little bit harder over time, a tiny bit less grippy over time. Real awesome. So these are just a really cool addition to the lineup at FlatFace now. So we have all our FlatFace wheels. Now we have all our blistered wheels, and it's been really, really cool. And it's just crazy. I never thought it would, first of all, I never thought it would like urethane wheels. It's not that I like hated them or thought they were bad, but it was not my preference. Like I would say, oh, you know, urethane wheels, to me, they would always feel really good, but I felt like it made it so much harder to fingerboard that if I had like, let's say I have 20 different fingerboard setups, you'd probably see like a set of urethane wheels on one of them, maybe on two of them, and it wouldn't be on my main setup. But these days, I've been enjoying them so much, as you can see. This setup, these three, like, I would consider these as some of my mains. I've been using these more than everything, pretty much. And then all these other ones too, especially these two. So yeah, Blistered really converted me to liking urethane wheels, which is crazy. I still, honestly, I do prefer FlatFace wheels just a little bit, but for feeling, and these are just awesome. I like them a ton. So they're up there. And so what I've been noticing is some fingerboarders prefer urethane and some fingerboarders prefer plastic. And then within plastic and within urethane, you have so many options. So if you like plastic wheels, there's, you know, with FlatFace, we have maybe 10 or more different feelings you can get from each of the materials. And then with urethane, same thing, you know, between different brands of urethane, maybe you tried urethane wheels and didn't like them, but you didn't try blistered yet. Try some blistered, see if you like them better. Because for me, that was like kind of a turning point where I was like, okay, urethane wheels can actually compete. You know, they don't have to make it harder to fingerboard. You can get ones that are really good. And between the different shapes, you also get different feelings. I learned a ton about urethane in the last few months since this all started, and since we've been making them and getting better at making them and failing and succeeding. And, you know, we had to throw out tons of wheels that we messed up, but now we're doing pretty good. And I learned all kinds of stuff. And one of the cool things I learned is that the shape of the wheel is going to impact how it feels a lot. It really changes the way that it grips and the way that it feels, and it's pretty big. So for example, these are my 3 favorite shapes. We have the cat's trying to drink my water. Can I put it there? Yeah, hopefully. So my 3 favorite shapes, we got the G4, and then we got the blistered conical, and the FFV3, which is like another collab shape. This one Bailey made before any of this happened, before I bought the company. So this is a little bit older of a shape too. And these are cool. They have engraved on the side FlatFace and blistered logos. So we can even paint those in. We have a really cool technique. You can see it on these and on these. On the side of certain shapes, we have an engraving. We have this special ink that we can paint it in, and then you get like a graphic wheel. But the difference is that these graphics don't wear away because they're inside an engraving, and it's a super special ink that's like ultra super permanent. So that's just a cool side thing. But what I was saying is how the shapes affect performance and feeling. So for example, the V3 has a little bit thinner of a riding surface compared to like the conical, and what was the other one? So let's say like our jumbos or also our classics, which are a smaller version of these jumbos, these have a really thin riding surface, so there's less contact area on the ground at once. And each of these shapes is going to feel differently in terms of grip and resistance and even how your board flips and how you lock into grinds. So to compare the conicals and the G4s, the conicals are very similar to G4s. This is one of the blistered shapes, and the G4 is a flat face shape. If you put them next to each other, they're pretty similar, but the conical is a tiny bit bigger and it's a little bit flatter. So the G4 is more round on the edges, the conical is more flat, and so when you lock into grinds, you have like an edge that you're locking against versus on a G4 it's more round, so you have less surface area contacting on the edge, but you're also kind of less locked. So it's give or take. But these are tiny details. It's fingerboarding, it's not real skateboarding, so you're not going to slip out or anything. You can just put the board where you want it and lock in by controlling, you're not as influenced by like the forces of physics while grinding. You can kind of control it instead of hoping it works. So, these are all little details, but they do affect how your board feels and performs. So that's just a bunch of little cool details. But I could go on and talking about wheels forever, because the last few months I've just been making wheels like every day, every few days for 4, 6, 8 hours a day sometimes, even longer. In the first few days we were doing like 12-hour days just flooring it. So it's really cool. The process is crazy. There's obviously a lot of secrets I can't tell you guys about how they're made, but it's crazy. We have a special room. We have to wear like safety equipment and stuff, and making the urethane wheels is just like endless creativity, a few challenges here and there, and it's awesome. So the latest, we brought back these tires, and they're really cool because the riding surface has treads like a tire, but it's also slightly rounded instead of flat, so you have so much less contact area. These are surprisingly less grippy than the other wheels. They feel really good because they really don't grip that much, even when they're brand new, before they're broken in or anything. So yeah, there's tons and tons of stuff to discover. I just kind of wanted to tell you guys about this in general because I didn't really get to yet too much. So basically, Blistered Wheels is part of FlatFace Wheels, and that's what's going on. It's awesome. And like I mentioned, Bailey is still involved. He's helping us out with some stuff. He can design new wheels for us anytime. So I didn't want to like turn the company into FlatFace and just like absorb it. I wanted to keep it as it is. Blistered has its own team still, the same team that it started with. And then we added a few people, which is awesome. And everybody on the team is like super like tight knit. We have like a team group chat, and everyone's like talking in there all day. I can barely even keep up. Everyone's super hyped. They're all people that are really good at fingerboarding, and they love Blistered Wheels. And it's awesome to have like the original team still on board and stuff like that. So that's about what's going on. There's probably way more that I'm forgetting to talk about, but we'll start it with that. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try and check once in a while and answer any questions you guys have. And other than that, check out the FlatFace website, go to Wheels and then go to Blistered, and that's where you'll find all the drops and stuff now. And it's crazy, we can barely keep up with the demand, so if you don't see much stuff on there, you can always check back later. We try to drop stuff like once or twice a week at least, usually at nighttime. So if you can get some, try them out and let me know what you think. One more thing I forgot. So as I mentioned, Blistered is Blistered, but now that we have the urethane stuff, I've also been making some FlatFace urethane wheels. And so I just wanted to add that in here real quick. The FlatFace urethane wheels are a lot different than the Blistered urethane wheels, even though we can use the same material. There's some differences, which I can't get into too much detail because it's all in like how it's made. But basically, the FlatFace way is a way that I developed after seeing Bailey's way for the blistered stuff, so it has like some crossover, but it has some different techniques that I added in, and so that's what goes into the FlatFace urethane wheels. And those, we have basically any FlatFace shape I can make into a urethane wheel now. And so obviously all the FlatFace stuff stays as it is. It's not being changed or touched or anything, but there's an additional category if you go into wheels where you can see urethane, and those now come with a different packaging. And so those are, compared to the blistered wheels, they have a different feeling even when they're the same 60D material. Something you should know about durometers, which is the hardness of a material. So if you see like 60D or 72D, that's the hardness of the urethane, but it's not the only factor for how hard the wheel will feel or how grippy it will be, or all those types of things. So let's say you see like 60D from us and 60D from another company, or even 60D from FlatFace and from Blistered, they're both going to feel different, even if they are the same material, but also if they're not. So if there's like a third company out there and they have a 60D wheel, you can expect that their wheel is going to feel different than ours due to the properties of the material that are not measured simply in the durometer of the material, which is only the hardness, but doesn't have to do with any of the other properties. And then also things like just the techniques in which the wheel is made. So most companies out there don't actually pour their urethane, but they machine it out of a rod, and that gives a completely different feel. And so that's why I'm super excited about our wheels being hand poured, because the pouring of the urethane has memory to it. It's kind of a complex thing, but the material has a memory, so it's always going to snap back into the shape that it's in, and properties on the surface have to do with that and all that. So the wheels that we're pouring, they feel different than if you were to machine a wheel in the same material like most other companies do. There are a few other wheel companies that do hand pour their urethane. So that's the difference between hand pouring versus machining, but that's kind of a side tangent. What I was meaning to talk about is FlatFace urethane. So we have G9 wheels, which is a G4 shape, but it's a dual bearing wheel. And then we have G10, which we just made, which takes the G8 wheel and adds 2 bearings to it. So 8 plus 2 equals 10. There's your G10. And then we have G7.1, which I brought back from a long time ago, from like 2011, and turned that into a urethane wheel too. So we have all these dual bearing wheels in the FlatFace urethane category. And we have 2 materials. So Blistered only has 1 material, and that's their original material. FlatFace urethane has 2 materials you can choose from. So one is soft, which is the blistered one, that's the 60D, and one is harder, which is a 72D. And I really like them both. The 72 is really special because it feels a lot like a plastic wheel because it's harder and it's less grippy, but it has that urethane feel to it also. So it does have more grip than like any FlatFace wheel normally has, and it is a little bit softer than any FlatFace wheel, maybe except for the T material. But the 72D, you can tell it's urethane, and it's also got that glassy smooth finish. So all the FlatFace urethane wheels, they have the same kind of precision smoothness that you expect from a FlatFace regular wheel. So they're super, super, like, unbelievably smooth, and that's pretty much it. Just wanted to tell you guys about that and explain the differences a little bit, just so you know that if you see blistered wheels and FlatFace urethane wheels, they're not the same. There's like some overlap, but there's some pretty big differences. So try them both, see what you like, and also let me know, because I really want to get feedback from everybody. I've been making these wheels like as best as I can, and the FlatFace ones especially, they're like more of my own creation. So I'm always open to feedback and stuff. And yeah, I'm glad everybody's been loving them. It's also like the blistered stuff, they've been taking a long time to make, and it's hard to keep them in stock. So we're doing our best, and check back soon if what you want is not on the site. You can even ask us. Don't ask too often, but you can ask us what, when you're going to have more of this color, this shape, whatever. And if we see that like a lot of people want a certain thing, we'll make sure to make that. So yeah, like I said before, thanks for watching, and leave some feedback in the comments because I'd love to hear what you guys think. Alright guys, so here's the different shapes of wheels. There's even more shapes than these, but these are the ones on the fingerboards that I have on me at the moment. So you can see some of them. Some of them are pretty used and some of them are pretty shredded, but they're all in great shape, feeling amazing. So these right here, let's focus even closer. These are the Blistered Classic. They have a very rounded kind of shape, as you can see, and they're a little bit thinner on the riding surface. Next up we have the Conical, and you can see that it's like a flatter, boxy kind of wheel. Those are similar size to like a FlatFace G4. These are the FlatFace G4s right here. They do have a rounder back, but other than that they're the exact same. Dimensions are the same, rounding is the same. Got a few other sets of those, like these white ones and these off-white ones. You can see that there's a lot of dirt on them, but you can clean that off with your finger anytime. These are the FlatFace V3s right here. Let's see if I can show you guys the engraving on the side. There it is, look at that. So good. These are some of my favorites, and we have some that have the ink in them so that the letters and logos can be painted too. Really cool. We have these new Jumbos. These are brand new. This is like a test set right here. Put gold text in the letters on that too. These are our biggest wheel. They are 8.8 millimeters tall, but they have a very thin riding surface, so they don't feel clunky or anything like that. And here's another set of the FlatFace V3s. We can do all these different colors, so it's really fun. And here's the tires. So the tires have those tire marks. I know they look kind of funny, like you might think it's kind of like a novelty thing, which, I mean, it is a novelty, but they are so good. It's crazy how good they perform. So check out the lettering on that too. It just looks really cool. In gold, we can do in all different colors, silver, blue, white, whatever. But yeah, these tires are so sick because the performance is like a lot better than you'd expect. So there's that slightly rounded riding surface plus the tread marks. You'd think it gives you more grip, but in urethane it gives you less grip because there's less material touching the ground at once. So they feel really, really, wow, really special. And then, so that's all the blistered wheels I have in front of me. There are a few other shapes, so check out the website. But these Conicals, real good. G4s are most popular by far. But all of the shapes are really good. I think a lot of them people haven't tried yet. The V3s are super popular too. And the new stuff like the Jumbos and the tires, those are brand new. So they are just kind of getting out there and people are loving all of these. So hope you guys like them. Try them out. Tell me what you think. Oh yeah, and then here, these are the G9 FlatFace urethanes. And these are the G10 FlatFace urethanes. So here we have a pretty used set. You can see that there's some dirt on them. Sorry about that. But just so you can see the shape and the size and all. So these are dual bearing wheels, and they're made with the FlatFace methods that I told you about that I developed. Similar to Blistered, but with some changes. And these white ones are 72D, so they're harder. And then these G10s are 60D, so they're softer. And they're just like super buttery smooth. And here you can see really some of the cool creative stuff we can do. So these have like these hexagons inside. They're really cool. They're like metallic blue. We have them even in different colors and stuff too coming down the line. So there's a lot of fun stuff we can do with these, but all the blistered wheels can also have hexagons and stuff. And that's about it for a little sampler. Go over to flatfacefingerboards.com and see what you can find in the blistered category. And if you click the FlatFace wheels category, you can find the FlatFace urethane. Also, wow, look at that reflection of the sun right now. This looks so good. I don't want to stop filming. Check it out. Gotta get, yeah. That's the sun out the window reflecting off my truck, and you can see the window screen. Let's check it out. That's it. Beautiful day out. Perfect evening for some fingerboarding.